and open up the mic to Catfish. So Mr. Michael Dosch has been doing audio since before I could produce audio verbally. I don't know. You're not any older than I am, I don't think.
Yeah, might be. Might
Close
be.
anyway.
Yeah.
But so you started with, you didn't start with TELUS. You were somewhere else before that.
No, I was with a company called Pacific Recorders and Engineering in
Yeah,
Southern California that became Pacific Research and Engineering, which is a story all by itself.
that was
And
Jack Williams.
that was Jack
What?
Williams' company. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's,
And prior to that, I was hot rodding recording studios around Southern California. So he or someone on his team had heard about this kid that was hot rodding recording studios. And long story short, I got an invitation to come and visit, and they hired me. And so I didn't know anything about broadcast, though. I was just an audio guy. And so they said, "Well, we'll teach you," and they did. So. It was a great job. It was best job I ever had. Maybe this one's better. I'm not sure, but one of the first things that I did as a young baby engineer was they said, "Don't get yourself too comfortable in that chair. You got to go to training." And so everyone who worked in engineering had to go and sit at the feet of Dean Jensen for a while, the guy that started Jensen Transformers. And he was our consultant and advisor, and no one got to design a darn thing until Dean had taught them how to do it right.
Mhm.
And so that was great. I learned so much while I was there, and I was there for quite a while. And then when I left, I started the Axia division for Telos. We kind of pioneered the idea of IP in the broadcast plant, and that was a lot of fun. And then after that, I went to work for a European company for a little while, and I didn't like it much. So I said, I think I'll need to start my own company and not be an employee anymore. And so I started Angry Audio, I guess 2018, 2019, something like that. So yeah, I've been around a long time and done a lot of stuff. Um,
And I'm not even moderately or indirectly affiliated with your marketing, but so that I reserve the rights to the see a problem, solve a problem tagline, but I
that
still
that was
think that
great.
that would work so perfect for you guys.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah, yeah. We've had a number of customers who played with our name, because angry audios. Some people are very curious. Why angry? And the answer is, well, because you asked. That's it right there. It's brilliant marketing because it kind of sticks in your head more than, you know,
Hmm.
TLX, engineering company or whatever. And
Yeah,
but I love see a problem, solve a problem. That's great. So
there
you'll
you
be getting
go.
royalty checks. Yeah.
Look, it's like all my other advice, worth exactly what you paid for it. So, have fun. If you can make some money off it, go for it. David, just
Indeed.
so you know, just giving you the update. Uh, uh, and it's all on the recording, so you'll get the transcript, I know, at the end. But we did tap on the bank account. Bill had a membership question, and now we got Catfish just telling us a little bit about what Angry Audio does. And I say it does like so. Everything you do is a gizmo.
We have gadgets and gizmos. We started out with gadgets and then we launched gizmos. And now we have a few other things besides gadgets and gizmos. But we do have a lot of gadgets and gizmos, and we have fun with the product names because everyone takes themselves too seriously in this industry, and so we don't. That's why they're gadgets and gizmos and not
That's
uh,
where I was going with that. And
yeah.
so the one I remember more than anything, and it's the one I encounter everywhere I go, is the little headphone jack thingadooey. That's
Oh,
my high. I know I'm off of
okay.
gadgets and gizmos and going to thingadooeys, but
Yeah, that one's pretty fun. And in fact, I'll tell you how that one came about. There was a fellow in Chicago who called me on the phone and he had broken one of our headphone amps. He'd broken the jack on it. And he said, "Would you use better quality jacks, please?" We are using, I don't know, Switchcraft or something, and they're plastic. And he thought the answer was to make them out of steel. And I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Well, people forget they're wearing their headphones and they walk away." And I said, I'll take your problem, but I don't think I like your solution. I think someone's going to get hurt. And but I'll take the problem. Let me go off and work on it. And it wasn't a genius moment or anything like that. I used to have an Apple laptop and it had a mag connector on it. And I thought, if we could just do that here, then that would fix the problem. And that started the project. I did a lot of homework to try to figure out, how to how to make the magnets work right. You wanted just the right amount of tension so it stayed together, and but it broke apart with just the right amount of force and stuff like that. And it was fun. It was absolutely a great project. By the way, the guy in Chicago got a bunch for free,
Sweet.
for kind of start for bringing the problem. He didn't bring the solution. And but we've sold quite a few in broadcast. It solves that problem. People get up, they walk away. DJs often drop the headphones down on their neck. They're working, they might have one ear on, they drop it down on their neck. And of course, at that point, you just forget and you just walk away. So even a guy who's been doing it for 30 years, he still forgets and he walks away.
Oh,
And
it's not
so
just DJs. I mean,
it's
I run
everybody. I
webcast,
know.
run Zoom meetings these days, and so yeah, I'm
I know.
forever
I know.
wearing these
I know. I'll
things. And
I'll get up at the end of this meeting and I'll forget, and this thing will, whip my neck back or whatever.
so,
We've
so,
sold a lot to, believe it or not, we've sold more to churches than we have to radio stations, which kind of surprised me.
mhm.
But it shouldn't have, because oftentimes on Sunday morning they have a worship team. They'll come up, and many times they'll have not professional singers, like
Mhm.
people who want to sing, so they'll give them some headphones or in-ear monitors usually, and they'll be wired up to something, and they're certainly not used to that.
Well, there you
So
go.
you
See,
really,
so there,
yeah,
there
you can't
there's
blame them for walking away with the, like,
right.
yeah.
So
So
there's my request. Get me a USB male and female with a maglock connector, so I can not rip the USB connector off my
indeed.
because and I mean I use a Plantronics headset, so these things are not a nickel 95 every time you do that. But uh, but there you go. Cool. Um, so you guys have got a pretty fun website. Do you want to just? I'll tell you what. I'll just shut up talking for a little bit, and you can kind of run with it for a little. Meanwhile, my wife's in the corner over here giggling because she knows in several years I've never shut up, and it's not likely to start now.
So, all right. You know what? I wasn't going to make a presentation, but then I realized on Friday this week I have to make a presentation anyway. So I kind of put some stuff together. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Sure.
But this is not, hey, I'm going to bombard you with slides for the next hour. I mean, we're not going to do anything like that. But let me just kind of give you a glimpse into what we do.
Well, see, the cool thing
And
is that I've got control
you
in the
do.
in the background here, so no,
You
you're
do.
not going to bombard us
No,
for an hour.
you can keep talking all you want. We're gone.
Yeah.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
no, carry on.
Okay. So just let me know if you get in my monitor or not. You should be seeing a
You're good.
window.
Yep. And there you go. You're full screen and get the
Okay.
little bearded
Good.
guy in the corner.
All right, excellent. So this is kind of an overview of what we do. It's not everything, but it kind of gives you a flavor of the different products. We have headphone amps that bolt to the bottom of tables. We have a product called the USB Gizmo. I'll go into detail with that a little bit later. We have studio signal lights. These are tally lights that you might mount in studios to use for signaling or alarming, or hey, we're on the air, shut up. We have a Bluetooth gadget, which is kind of fun. There are many, many devices out there that will connect your smartphone to your sound system, but there aren't any, or I don't think there are any besides ours, that allow you to use your phone as a phone. So there's a lot of playback Bluetooth devices, but ours actually allows you to use a smartphone in phone mode. And so we got a lot of people using this kind of as a poor man's hybrid. And so the Bluetooth gadget allows them to connect to the smartphone, and then they'll use the smartphone they might use it with the phone itself app, but they could use it with Skype or FaceTime or anything else that, a phone-like application, and they can put callers on the air that way, which is pretty cool. The headphone disconnector we talked about. You guys probably know those mica mic arms that have the tallies on the end. We make different devices for driving those tallies and interfacing them to your consoles. Um, More headphone amps with cough buttons. We have control button panels that connect to Axia or Wheatstone consoles. So, it's just a bunch of stuff. Uh, if Jeff were giving this presentation, he would say, see a problem, solve a problem. So that's kind of an overview of what we do. And in 2020, we bought the company formerly known as Radio Systems. Now, Radio Systems was kind of famous for making Millennium consoles, and but they made a bunch of other stuff too, including they kind of pioneered this idea of audio over Cat5 in broadcast studios. And so we saw an opportunity. They had gone out of business, and we basically bought the assets. And I discontinued a lot of stuff. Like we're not the new radio systems. We pretty much instantly killed the consoles because the consoles killed them. And so we didn't want to do that. But we kept quite a bit. We kept quite a few products that people were still buying. Number of panels, number of match jacks. We have distribution amplifiers. We still make the adapters. They're kind of iconic, the RJ45 to XLR adapters, and we make 30 or 40 different versions of those. So this is the other part of what we do. So it's Angry Audio Studio Hub, and I'm going to give you just kind of an insight into a few products. This one's pretty fun. This is our Audio Chameleon stream processor, live stream processor. And this is designed for digital audio output. It's not FM, so we're not going to feed any Nautel transmitters with this. But it is the product came out of an interesting problem. We didn't start out to make a live stream processor. We started out to make a headphone processor, because what we wanted to solve was that problem where live talent used to be able to hear themselves over the air. They'd set up a tuner and they'd listen to themselves over the air, so they'd hear their own voice processed. And over time, we introduced so much latency into the signal chain that became impossible. And so they would mostly listen to themselves from the console output, which was dry, unprocessed, and they were not happy about this. So we wanted to have a low-cost way to solve that problem. Basically, we wanted a headphone processor. And so we started out with that project, and we have one. It's called the C3 Studio Processor, and it is, I guess I would call it fake air. And it does a good job of kind of simulating what an over-the-air processor might sound like, enough so that the talent can work the processing with their voice, and you'll hear the effect over the air. But out of that came some other products. It was like, hey, now that we're in the processing business, we should make some other things, and this was one of them. And what's unique about our approach to processing is that we barely let you control anything. So we're like, if Orban gives you 1,000 controls, then we're the anti-Orban, because we give you 2 controls. And we do everything within our software. So we basically adapt to content that's coming in, which is a different way of thinking about it, because normally you get a processor and you go and you find a preset for talk or for rock or oldies or whatever you're doing, and then you adjust it and kind of fine tune it for your own particular taste. This is a completely different approach. This one, you just shove in whatever content you have, whether it be talk or sports or rock or whatever, and it adapts. And it adapts in a way that you don't have a lot of control over. And so I've said this to different engineers, particularly expert engineers, who say, well, screw you. It's like, that's my business. I'm really good at tuning processors. Go away. I have no interest in this, in this thing. And then they hear it. And then they say, well, this actually sounds really good. How is that possible? And it's there's some really interesting tech that we've put in here to make it do this. We sell quite a few for like the HD2, HD3, so there are quite a few of these on the air. You can't really use it for HD1 because that's synchronized with the analog. But the alternative outputs, we have quite a few people using these. And they use them for live streams. And I've never said, hey, go buy this instead of an Omnia 9. I say buy this in addition to your Omnia 9. Put this in your live streams where you don't really want to mess with that stuff, and just set it and forget it. And so we've solved some problems there. But once again, it found alternate markets. And one of the alternate markets really shocked me, and it was, again, churches. So during the COVID event, a bunch of churches started becoming micro broadcasters. They didn't know they were micro broadcasters, but they were. And they were trying to figure out why their streams didn't sound that great. And part of it was they were, they weren't mixing very well, so that's a problem. But they also had no clue about how to manage levels. And of course, broadcasters, we've known this for years, decades. We know all about that. We know how to get consistent loudness out of the output. You need a processor. And so we came along and we said, you need a processor. And they looked at us like we'd grown a new head out of our neck. And what's a processor? Oh, you mean a compressor? Yeah, we have compressors. No, 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 that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a program processor, something on the output that will, level out the difference between the pastor and the music and give you a consistent sound. And for these guys, if we had given them a bunch of controls, we would have failed because they barely even know what the box is, much less how to adjust it. So it turned out to be really a great hit in a target market that wasn't even on our radar. So
Well, and that's one of those cool things. Like I know just from our end, we've got the transmitters with the little Orban
mm,
5500 generic in there. I say generic, it's Orban 5500 code, so I guess that's what it is. But yeah, 99.9% of the people that use that processor select the preset out of the 16 pre-programmed ones they like, and that's where it sits. It never gets
that's where
touched
it
again.
sits. Yeah.
And if they do try to touch it, 99.9% of the time, support's getting a call on how do we adjust this thing that we know very little about. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, I can
It's
see where that'd be kind of cool. And for the folks that do know what all the buttons and controls mean and how to tweak them, then I mean, this isn't their market anyway.
You'd be surprised.
Mm.
I've been surprised by some guys that you would think that that person would never in a million years ever go for an automated processor. And he's the guy that actually loves the idea of the automated processor. And he says, quite frankly, Catfish, I just don't want to spend any time on that. So I spend all my time adjusting the processor for the over the air,
So what
So
you're
I'm very
saying is
happy with
we put the 8100 in the rack at the studio and just don't connect the output to it, so the PD's got something to adjust, and then just hide
it.
this in the
Something
air
like
chain.
that.
I see where you're going. All
Something
right.
like that. Yeah, we need to make a box for that, I guess. A busy box. This is another product, and they look very much alike because they're the same hardware platform running different software. And this is it's a leveler, and it's a multi-band AGC basically. And this solved a problem, which was kind of interesting. People used to use compellers a lot in broadcast. There's quite a few of them still out there, hundreds, thousands, I guess, tens of thousands. And Aphex, after they got bought by Rode said they don't want to make them anymore. And there wasn't really a, like replacement. I mean, you still get them, they're used, and you can recap them and stuff, but there wasn't really a new product to replace it. And so that had happened. And then there was another preprocessor that it had become very popular over the years, and it was a multi-band AGC by actually the name of it was Ariane, and it was David Reeves who had done the originally done the design on it, and it was made by or manufactured most recently by uh, Broadcast Warehouse, and they went out of business. So we had, the two products that were kind of known for being the preprocessor, either pre-STL for protection or preconditioning the audio before it hits the over-the-air processor. Both of these had gone out of business and they weren't available anymore. And so we decided we'd make one. And I've actually had a number of people that have pulled out the Ariane and put ours in and said it sounds better. So it's a niche. It's not for everybody. It does. One thing I think is pretty cool is it kind of breathes new life into older processors. So yes, I have a bunch of guys that are running these in front of Omni 11s and they swear by them. That's true. But I also have a ton of customers that are using this in front of last generation, like 8700s and Omnia 6s. And, there's still a ton of those out there. And it's amazing what this will, make those boxes sound like brand new boxes. It's crazy. And it's basically a loudness processor. So the output is lightly processed, doesn't sound all crunchy or anything like that, but the loudness is really consistent. And so what happens is by the time it hits, you turn off the AGC and your over-the-air processor, by the way, you don't let them both work. This takes the place of the wideband AGC. And so by the time it hits the processing engine, the levels are really tightly controlled. So that's not the job of the over-the-air processor anymore. So its job is just shaping the sound and providing the back end. And it sounds great. People love it. It's like $1,000. So $1,000 is quite a lower price compared to buying a new, Omni 11 or whatever. So we've actually, I think this has been one of our most popular products.
And it's funny you mentioned the Ariane because so the first time I encountered an Ariane was the first time I met Jim Husty
Mm, mm.
and David Reeves, and
Transatlantic. That's
they
right.
were
Yeah.
showing it to Bob Janney at WBBR, Bloomberg Financial Radio, in New York City. So that
It's
was
a
more than a year or
it's a
two
it's
ago.
a great
We st-
product. Yeah.
we still have both those, the AFXN, they are in service right now.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So if you ever decide you want to get something new with a warranty, let me know. And if they keep running for you, that's great too. So we only solve problems when they're actual problems. So it sounds like you're okay right now. This is a software processor that basically is the same as the C4 that I was showing you earlier. It's a live stream processor. It has a few more controls on it. It gives you some access to the engine underneath. I kind of call them influence controls. We don't let you adjust attack and release times and traditional controls, but we do allow you to influence the decision making somewhat. So you can kind of, bias it a bit toward something that you might like a little bit more. And this has been really popular. It's PC software or I'm sorry, Windows or Mac. It's available Windows or Mac. It's available as a standalone application or as plugins. So sometimes your automation system can actually host it as a plugin. And so it's another thing that we've done. Um, this is a fun product. It's very utility. It's a USB audio gizmo. I made this because I kept encountering cheap USB audio interfaces that were built into consoles, and I kept being disappointed. And so, without picking on any competitors, which I won't, I'll pick on Mackie because they're not a competitor of ours. So they make these cute little mixers, and they cost a few $100, and they have a USB connector built in. And so theoretically, if you plug that into your computer, then your computer is going to be able to send and receive audio from your little mixer over that USB connection. But if I turned it up all the way, which I'm prone to do, I heard this whining going on, like this, buzzing and whining and garbage like that, and I couldn't quite understand why. And actually, after doing a bit of homework, I figured out why. And it's a ground loop problem. You guys all know ground loops. You've been chasing them your entire careers. So have I. And so what happens generally is when you have one of these low-cost USB interfaces, they'll use the power and ground from the computer to power up the circuitry for the audio. And so you end up with the computer's filthy ground reference, and then you have probably a local ground in your mixing console, and you have some differential, between the two, and you hear it. And that's not nice. So that got me thinking, like, oh, we were working on a mixing console at the time, and I thought, well, I'm not going to put anything inside because, that's pretty garbagey, but how else can I fix this? And that started a pretty fun project of trying to figure out how to completely isolate the computer circuitry from the audio circuitry. And so there's power regeneration. We basically take the 5 volts that comes from the computer and then we regenerate it with isolated DC to DC converters. We isolate the data lines from the computer. So all that USB data is actually galvanically isolated from the audio circuit side of things, and we do full balanced input and output. And this combination of things causes these to be pretty much dead quiet. And I get this comment a lot from these. These have been really popular, but it's the most boring product we make because people just plug it in and it works. And I really never hear from anybody. Maybe I'll hear, I bought your gizmo and it's perfect. thank you. You know, that's kind of it. You know, that's the extent of the review. It's really boring, and that's good. I like that very much. So, you know, this has been pretty popular, mostly because I guess until you get into some pretty high-end audio stuff, you know, like multi-channel kind of stuff, it's kind of dicey. It's kind of dodgy. Generally not that clean or not consistently clean, depending on what you're doing. Um, and then this is something a little bit more interesting. This is a USB interface that has composite output on it. So we did this in partnership with a company called Max Connect. And in fact, I'll show you the back because it's maybe a little bit more obvious. So imagine a USB sound card that has composite outputs, analog composite outputs that you can connect up to your transmitter, or digital composite outputs, which you can connect up to your more modern transmitter because that's AES-192 as well. So you've got analog in, you've got analog out, you've got composite out, you got digital in with a sample rate converter because the output of this box is 192 kilohertz, and your console may or may not be 192 kilohertz. So we ingest whatever you're able to provide, and that becomes the feed for the computer audio processor. So what is this thing? You know, why do you need a composite sound card? And the answer is because of products like Stereo Tool. So you've got this software audio processor running on a machine, and you want to connect it to your broadcast chain. And right now, the only way to do that is to maybe hack an baseband audio sound card and hope that it's got the bandwidth to be able to provide composite. And then if it has the bandwidth, hope it's got the amplitude to be able to drive your transmitter with what it needs. So it's really a hack to use these software, these very elegantly produced software audio processors that you have to kind of hack sound cards together in order to make them work. And so we came along and we said, well, we'll make a professional broadcast quality product that you can have do this job. And so that's where that idea came from. It came from the guy that runs Max Connect, Josh Bone. You know, he came with the idea, and I was annoyed with him because I didn't think of it first.
Now, you guys have kind of done a little, it's not a merger, you're all independent companies, but I guess operational pooling of resources somehow with,
Yeah.
I don't know how
Yeah.
to describe it, so I'm
we
going to drop
we
it
don't
in
know
your
how
lap.
we don't know how to describe it either, Jeff. We're basically three formerly independent companies that are now kind of attached at the hip and working together, and we're still working that out. You know, we're still trying to figure out what each of us does best and how to contribute. But what we realized, and this is true, is that this is a pretty rough industry, especially these days. You know, broadcasting, the salad days are over. You know, do I think broadcasting is ending? No, I don't. Not even a little bit. But it's rougher now than it's ever been. And we realized that working together as three companies, helping each other, we stood a better chance than working on our own. And so that's where that idea came from.
And
Moving
for
on.
anybody that doesn't know, I'll just Max Connect, and this is so I was talking to Josh yesterday about this and said you need to fix this. Max Connect makes a prioritized LTE modem, among other things, but it's cool because it's ranked right below first responders. The downside is that their only agreement in Canada right now, I think, is with AT&T with Bell, and I don't believe they've got anything with Rogers or Eastlink or any of the smaller groups at all. So Josh says he's working on it, but it gives you an LTE modem that will get you a signal in the middle of a sporting stadium, whereas when everybody's trying to update their Facebook. So anyway, sorry to interrupt,
No,
Catfish,
no,
but
it's cool. It's a cool product. So this one is interesting. Takes a little explanation. It's a microphone processor. Now, our processing expert, Cornelius Gold, he used to work with me at Telos, and he was the Omnia 11 guy. He and Frank Foti kind of, co-developed that product. And so he's on our team now, and so he kept saying, "I want to do a mic processor. I want to do a mic processor." And I said, "All right, show me a sketch of what this thing's going to look like." And he shows me this sketch. It's got 9 knobs on it. And I whined at him. I said, "Ah, it's not very chameleon-like. You know, I've kind of gotten used to this idea of these automated processors that just kind of do the work without you having to make a bunch of adjustments." And he said, "Yeah, I can't really do that here though, because I don't know what people are going to plug into it." And so I said, "Well, what if you knew?" He said, "What do you mean?" I said, "What if you knew? What if, what if we told people this processor is made for the Shure SM7, or this processor is made for the Electro Voice RE whatever 20." And he said, "Oh, wait a minute. Okay, now if I knew like that, I could do all kinds of interesting things. I could pre-shape all the algorithms so that everything was perfectly matched to the microphone." And so that kind of was the beginning of our microphone processor idea. Was we start by assuming that there's a particular microphone that you're using. So when someone comes to us and says, "Well, yeah, but I don't use that microphone," then we say, "Don't use this processor. This is not for you. This is made for Shure SM." In fact, the key is in the first 2 letters of the name, SM. So that's Shure Mic 7, Shure Mic 5, Shure Mic 57, 58. And so, it's a very narrow niche product, but it has some pretty significant advantages when you use it with that particular microphone. If you're not using that microphone, this isn't for you. If you are, this microphone sounds fantastic through this box. In fact, I would say that there is no other box that sounds as good with an SM as ours does. And why is that? How can I make that claim? Because everything in this box was optimized for that microphone. It's not a series of compromises like you would have on any other mic processor where, yeah, this isn't quite the right EQ for that mic, but it's sure the right range for this other mic. And so I've got always mic processors there's a lot of tweaking to do to make them sound good. So the best compliment that I got on this was from a friend of mine who has an SM5. And so I sent it to him as a gift, basically. And I said, "Tell me how it works with the SM5." So a couple days later, he calls me and says, "Best thing I've ever heard. Absolutely astounding. I will never let this go. This is, from now on, this is the only thing I'm going to use." And I said, "Terrific. Go ahead and take the lens off and take a picture of the settings on the front panel. I want to know what adjustments you made in order to make it sound good for the SM5. And that's what we're going to put in the manual." And he said, "What adjustments?" So he had never even taken the front off. He just plugged in the microphone, and it sounded fantastic to him. And we have that experience quite a lot. So there are some adjustments here, but they're kind of tweakers. Just a little bit of fine tuning. The basic sound of the box, it just sounds the way it does right out of the gate, and that's very chameleon-like. So um, we also, after we launched this one, we had a bunch of people complain to us because we didn't have one for the Electro Voice RE microphone. This is the back, by the way. I'll come back to that. So we decided that we'd make one of those too. So we have 2 in the line right now. This is the Rebel for the RE microphones. Those are very popular. And we also have the Smooth for the Shure microphones. And that's basically the same hardware, but different software. And if you look in the back, we've got a mic input and a line input if you happen to have a preamp you like. Got analog line output, got a digital output, so you can come out AES-3 if you wish. Got a remote control connector, so if you're a podcaster and you don't have a broadcast console and you want to do remote on-off cough, for example, you could put that in front of your podcast guest and give him those controls. We add that here. And so this has been very fun, very fun project. We've had it, I guess, a couple of years now, and we've sold quite a few of them. And then we have, this is a radio console. I have designed mixers, radio mixing consoles for many, many decades. And so, everybody was always asking me, "When are you going to do a radio console here?" And one thing that became pretty apparent was there is a need in the marketplace for a very high quality but low cost analog mixer. So That's what this is. It is not IP. It is a small analog console. But we had people calling us even after we bought radio systems and asking, please make the Millennium. And obviously there was a need for this kind of product, but the Millennium was a $10,000 analog console. And I just didn't believe that there were enough customers out there to continue to support such an idea. So this is a $2,000 analog console. And it is, comparable in terms of performance to anything that we made at PRNE. In fact, it's probably a bit better specs wise. And very proud of it. It works really well. It's flexible, sounds fantastic, and it's relatively simple. It's not an expensive product. It's not for everybody. Obviously you're not going to put this in a plant that needs IP consoles, right? But you might be surprised. I actually have seen a few in otherwise IP console territory. I've seen a few of these show up in certain functions, news, and places like that. So we've been building those for about a year now, and that's the back. Kind of see. This is an old picture because it's still, when we first started, we had an internal power supply, and that was a problem that needed to be solved because the first prototype I lit up, I had noise in the console that no matter what I did, I couldn't get rid of it. Now it was okay. It was like, under the threshold of what I would call a decent spec, but it just annoyed me no end. So it's like, it's not good enough. I know we can be better. And so we externalized the power supply. So it's a separate rack mount supply now. And everything's Studio Hub in and out except for the microphones, which are XLR. And this is something new. This is brand new. Yeah, I think you might be the first customers actually, broadcasters actually seeing this. So there's this new mic stand from Mica, and I fell in love with it when I saw it. It's got the Mica ethos, so it kind of looks like all their other mic arms, but it has just a base, so it sits on your desktop and looks better than an Atlas desktop stand by quite a lot. And so I took one look at it and said, oh, we need to make a base for that. We need to make our own active base because, it's great that it's got a microphone on a stand, but what else does every guest need? He needs headphones, right? So this is a, picture of a mic arm mounted to our base, which has a built-in headphone amplifier, has built-in, on-off controls that can either locally mute the microphone before it goes to your console if you don't have a broadcast board, or if you do have a broadcast board, it just brings out those switch controls as logic so that you can remote control the function in your broadcast board. And pretty simple, heavy. Has to be heavy because it is the weighted base for the microphone. You don't want it to tilt over. And this is right now we're actually in the process of building the first ones. So there you go. Cool idea or not? Tell me.
So
Very cool.
I'm going to say, going from the aspect of doing like webinars and webcams and stuff where you've got, radio with pictures, the low profile mic arm on its own is cool, but having the ability to plug headphones and stuff into it is, it is kind of neat.
We would definitely use these. We have video in all our studios now, so yeah, this is a great idea.
Yeah. So coming soon. $299, by the way, for the base. It's still going to be far more expensive to get the mic arm part. That's they're pretty proud of their products. They charge a lot for them.
Now I'm going to assume you're speaking in U.S. dollars there. Just giving
yes,
you a
yes. I can't do the conversion in my head. You got to do that for me. So yeah, 300 US bucks. What is that in Canadian?
Around about 4, give or take.
Okay.
I was going to say about $1,200. Yeah.
Yeah, nickel 95.
I was going to say today our dollar's not worth much, but
give us a week. It varies day to day.
Yeah, I understand. So that was it. I just put that together. I mean, I'm happy to, take you down any path you want to go. If you want to talk about some product that we didn't talk about here, but I kind of wanted to wet your whistle a little bit, let you see what we do, and you know, in every one of the categories we looked at, where there's multiple things that are going on. So, you know, I showed you a headphone amp. Well, we have, I guess, what, 4 different types, 5 now with this base. So, you know, we do quite a lot of stuff for a small company, and we're always doing more. See a problem, solve a problem.
I can tell you like that.
I do quite a lot. Yeah.
angryaudio.com, right, for the website, and you've got to contact us on there, I assume, if anybody's got any questions.
No, what we do is we actually don't answer emails or phone calls because
Cool. So
customers are distracting, and it's really hard to get anything done when anyone calls us. So we just don't answer the phone. Yeah, of course.
Perfect.
I'm gonna say, you it sounds like you've been peeking into my email box almost.
I sent you a message in the chat. If you're interested, let me know. I would love to do that.
Let me see if I can stop sharing my screen. I might be able to find that. There we go. I see it now. Okay, sure. Happy to. That'd be great. He asked me to wear a grass skirt and do the hula dance in front of his entire staff. And
Look, there
you know
are
what?
stories of me.
You
and
don't have to
Ed
ask me
hosting,
twice.
so.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
so Corny's working with you directly now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Say hi to him for me.
Oh, I will.
It's
Absolutely.
been a while since I've talked to him. So
he is. I mean, he's such a genius. He always blows me away, the things he thinks about. And
yeah.
I
know.
He tells me he's getting his rockets going again now.
Of course he is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he is a rocket scientist. But you know, he'll make something, and you know, he'll give it to me to listen to, and I'll listen to it. I'll say, oh man, that sounds fantastic. And then a week later he'll say, throw that away. That's crap. I came up with a much better way to do it. And you know, so just when I think he can't make it any better, he makes it better, and then he makes it better again, and he just never stops. And I swear he works all the time. You know, like even when he's not working, you know, his brain's still going. He's, I got an idea. You know, he's off doing something new.
When Omni 11s first came out, I had him at one of our facilities, and he spent like 4.5, 5 hours tweaking one of our Omni 11s until he liked it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
He's a maniac. Sitting there in a chair in his headphones, like in a transmitter site. Yeah, it was pretty funny to watch.
Yeah. No, he's really something. It's really a privilege that he's chosen to come and work here, because he could have done anything. He could have gone anywhere, and he said, "Hey, yeah, I'm going to go work at Angry Audio." Woohoo! So there you go.
Well, very cool. Thanks very much, Catfish. Anybody else got any questions?
I got a quick question.
Oh, sure. Go ahead, Chris.
Chris out here in Vancouver. With the new Mica desktop setup that you have coming out, will it have the headphone quick disconnect on the side? I didn't quite see that.
Question. Yeah, it does.
It does.
Yeah,
okay.
the picture. It's hard to see in the picture. I should have kind of blown up that section, but it's got the headphone disconnector. So the mate basically. Yeah. So you know, we give you the pigtail comes with it.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
And
okay,
but it also has a 3.5 millimeter jack.
Okay.
And that's kind of a backup jack. That's
someone.
Someone took the pigtail, stuck it in their pocket, and walked away. You know, and now I can't get audio out, and that would be pretty bad. So we do the 3.5 millimeter, and also the disconnector.
Okay, great, thanks. And then I was trying to find that the analog composite product on the website.
It is. It's not linked anywhere. So see what I did there, Jeff? Remember I told you we don't want customers to find this stuff and talk to us. Yeah. So if you
makes perfect business sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it up in volume. That's what I'm gonna do. So it's angryaudio.com/U192. So U192. And that'll get you to that product page. And I got to figure out how to get it linked.
See, that's the thing when you're busy working with audio and RF and radio and all the stuff we do, you know, finding somebody that knows how to do a web page, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, we can help you with that, Catfish.
We got a great guy. It's just I don't have any time to give him any direction. So he's always waiting on me.
That's awesome. Well, thanks.
Well,
Okay.
guys, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity, and thanks for, sitting and patiently listening to me spew about our stuff. So
Sure thing.
that's
Thank
kind of
you.
you.